Grid Kids.
Hey everybody, welcome to Grid Kids. I'm your host Nicholas Semrad, and this is only the second of hopefully many of these podcasts, and I thank all of you yet again for joining me on this journey. Many of you have reached out to me personally with interview requests, and I'm happy to say that I think many of these requests are going to happen in the very near future. So keep your eyes and ears on this feed, as I think we're going to have some exciting things happen here. As I mentioned during the initial episode's intro, I'll be setting up a Patreon account at some point in the next month or two in order to gain funds to increase the quality of this podcast, and eventually, I hope to work my way up to having video with these podcasts as well. I think that there's a certain something that gets lost without the visual dynamic of these interviews, as you will maybe notice during this interview. But until then, I hope you'll have patience with my occasional introductory podcasting hiccups, and I hope to provide you with either some entertainment, some education, maybe even a little bit of both. My guests for this episode are drummer and producer Lenny the Ox Reece and keyboardist and producer Julian Pollack, aka J3P0. Lenny Reece has toured with DJ Premier and Super Duper Kyle, and is a founding member of the band known as the Lesson GK, which I'm a member of, and which previously was the house band of an event with the same name that went on for many years in the heart of New York. Julian has been playing keyboards recently for jazz bassist and absolute legend Marcus Miller, and is well established in his own right as an artist and a producer. Without further ado, here's Lenny Reece and Julian Pollack, aka J3P0. Hey everybody, I'm here with Lenny the Ox Reece and Julian Pollack, aka J3P0. Welcome, gentlemen.
Woo! Hey, what up, man?
It is actually Lenny the Ox's birthday today.
Oh shit, I forgot.
Yeah, he just turned 23, and he's just a newcomer on the scene. He's trying to escape from New York, you know?
Oh wow!
You know?
I like this.
It's
like reading a script and then having to like learn to be that person yourself.
Yeah. No, I figured I'm gonna do a podcast where I just lie the whole time.
I'm into that.
Yeah. Well, I talked earlier with Genevieve about how it would be dope. I'm not going to do this because, I'm a nice, wonderful person, but it'd be dope to have a podcast where you just invite somebody on and the whole time just tear them apart. You're like, yo, this is Lenny Reece on drums. So, Lenny, why is your time so bad?
do you do that on purpose? Do you practice?
Yeah, do you?
Well, here's the thing. It's called cosmic slop.
Yeah, you just try really hard to practice terrible. Instead, #practice weird, #practice bad.
Cosmic slop sounds like it could be
a Parliament song?
Galactic porn. It's just like
it's a Parliament song, right?
It is?
I think so.
Oh, I don't know.
Could be totally wrong.
It could be like spaceship alien porn.
Spaceship alien porn?
Cosmic slop.
Killin', so you're in LA.
Yeah.
Basically, Julie and I both live here. You
Yeah.
are here you did a Vic Firth shoot.
Yeah.
In which you sacrificed about 30 pounds of weight due to
God.
food poisoning the day
Yeah.
before. Dude, I don't know, especially after watching you play, I don't know how, we can cuss on this by the way, so I don't know how the fuck you got through a whole Vic Firth shoot feeling like that.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand up when I'm sick.
Yeah.
And you had bloody fist effort game on 10.
It's so funny, man. Like whenever I was thinking about it, I was like, there's so much, when it comes to like a thing, there's so much to like worry about, especially if you have enough experience knowing how you will feel. Like, so much to worry about. You know that you're going to be nervous. You know you're only going to play at 20% of what you usually can play. Yeah. Because of all the pressure. You know all the variables involved that would cut that in half. Mm-hmm. And so it was funny because like leading up to the shoot, I was definitely nervous, but that's my thing. Nervous is just, I embrace that. So one day I realized, I was like, all right, everybody could do all these exercises and things trying to like rid themselves of fear and rid themselves of nerves. And it's like, I personally one day realized that it's not about, that's the wrong battle. It's not about like fighting nerves or trying to free yourself from being a nervous person. It's about functionality and learning how to be functionally shy, functionally embarrassed, functionally ashamed.
Damn, functionally shy. I love that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So that's my whole, that's my theme. So I'm just like, whatever. So leading up to the shoot, I was like, all right, I already know that, I know what to expect, from myself. and I was just okay with that. But when I got food poisoning, I was like, oh, really? So you're not gonna let me just have to deal with my usual like nerves? Now I gotta think about this on top of that. So to be honest with you, the food poisoning had all of my attention. So I was just like, and it's the same thing. Like when I get nervous, when I play, I completely forget once I start in a lot of ways. And so, but being sick was a whole other thing for this like major thing, right? Yeah. So I was like, all right, let's be sick, but let's just be, just tap into, who you are. And I just played, I like changed my style a little bit for the shoot and played like kind of like the most default, like natural primal playing, and which ended up in me punching on the floor.
Well, and you have to, those situations, I've done that thing, as you know, I've done it 2 years in a row. And it's been interesting because there's been hella different styles of drummers. I mean, last year you went everywhere from Mike Mitchell to Mark Juliana. And this year you had like Peter Erskine and you know? Yeah. So like you're literally touching every genre. And like, so the band is in a weird spot of having to adapt to all that. Yeah. But, and we'll dive into this in a bit, but like your vibe and the lesson thing, I mean, I want to separate them because you're a piece of that and it's a piece of you. But your thing is so unique that it was interesting hearing a group that's built to be utility deal with you, right, and vice versa. And I think it's going to be really cool, but it was definitely like, even for me being the guy in both worlds there, it was unique. So I can't imagine on your end like how what that is.
Well, that's why I was so adamant. I mean, I was chasing trying to get this thing to be prepared for me, because I know it's so different, you know what I mean? And if they want me to play, they must want me to do what I do.
Absolutely.
So if they invited me, it's like, okay, they like what I do, and I know what I need to do what I do. So I'm like, all right, here are the things. But regardless, like I'm 100% keen on the fact that like everything absolutely won't be perfect or go however you imagine it. So just go to dance, right? Like when you go out dancing, you don't think about, okay, I'm gonna dance like this and I'm gonna dance like that. No, you go. No,
I do, because I'm awkward.
I just know that the DJ's gonna drop some shit. I don't know who's gonna show up, and I'm gonna have to maneuver and enjoy myself and get intimate, and be in my body when it comes to that. So same thing with this. I was like, I don't know what to expect. I know it's not gonna be perfectly how I would want it in order to do my thing. So I'm gonna get as much as I could, so that's like sort of like, broadening the margin, if you will. Get as much as I could done so I have enough space or room for things to go wrong. And everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it was perfect. I was laughing. I thought it was perfectly difficult but great in that it was raw.
There's a certain, I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago, but there's a certain zen that comes with just utter chaos.
Yeah. 100%.
It's like I'm sure. Shout out to David Cutler, by the way, on the Zen Vibes, bass player for the lessons.
Zenny the Ox. That's Cutler.
Like there's some sort of, I've been reading a lot about the balance between chaos and order, and I think sometimes things are so ordered that the only way they're gonna work or give anyone any emotion or feeling is like injecting chaos into them. And that day was so chaotic. For your side it was so chaotic. The rest of the thing was like overly overly is the wrong word. It was so order based because we had all these messy things with Spud ended up missing a flight the day before. We were supposed to do all the rehearsals.
Shout out to Spud.
Yeah, shout out to Spud. He especially for doing all that stuff in a day. Jeez, man. It was hella work, and he crushed it.
We lost a whole day.
Yeah, and so listeners, imagine getting like 7 drummer tunes, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the word drummer tunes. It's you're showcasing drummers, so you're doing really rhythmic hits, you're doing really syncopated stuff. Imagine having 7 of those with like, I think it was 7, maybe 6.
Yeah, 6.
Maybe 6. 6 of the best drummers on the planet coming in like ready. You have dudes like Steve Smith coming in just being like, here's my tune where there's all these sections in 7, but really they're in 4. And you have to like do that with no rehearsal pretty much. And you have an hour for each guy, So that whole day was it was like everyone had to be in one spot. Everyone had to be so on their game that at least for me...
And it's a big production. It's not like some rinky-dink. It's a huge thing.
Yeah, they're putting a ton of money into it, and they're putting a ton of like video work. And last year's all came out really great, and they do a really great job. But that last one, to me, was like, it was just the perfect exit, because you took the whole day and were like, order, and then you came in. And it was just like, nah, chaos. Like, nah, we need some of this, And to me, like, it just made the whole thing. And I think that's why people, you got done. And I know you and I kind of had the vibe of like, okay, cool, we got through.
Yeah.
We know what it's supposed to be for your vibe that you're trying to go for. But everyone else, Mark Lettieri walked up to you and he was just like, holy shit. And that to me, like, Mark is one of the best musicians on the planet to me. So the fact that, like, even though we were in this boat of like, damn, he came up and was like, man, that is some craziness. Yeah. It just showed you that, like, man, sometimes that chaos is exactly what you need, And I've talked about this. I talked about this in Genevieve and ECC's podcast too. Of just sometimes, no matter how much prep you have, wherever you're at, you have to just come as raw into the music as possible. Yeah. And you just have to go super,
so to speak.
Yeah. There it is. And this is unedited.
Shout out to Phase.
Yeah, shout out to Phase. Phase 1, the world wonder. So you just have to go like as crazy as you can in certain situations, and that's the only chance it has.
Mm-hmm.
And just to kind of segue into what I wanted to talk to you about, Julian, is I feel like you, to me, especially of all the cats who are the newer dudes, like, you have found a way to be a person who very obviously has that, like, ordered playing when you want it. It's like, I see you working on classical, I've heard you play jazz, like, that part is there, but then the music that you're putting out and the music that you're playing for fun and you're doing videos of is like, let me take that and go meow, and like bend it in half and like skew it in this like gross way. And so people have like really latched onto it. They hear keyboard players like you and you're coming in and like saying, man, you can do this, but you can also like bend it in half and play in the wrong key for a minute. And I know how to do both. Which one do you want? And it's just like, it's such a thing. Like, where do you, I know that you have kind of the same lesson vibe, like we're all in the same hang together, but what are your roots in that?
I would say, like, for me, just a solid foundation, like in like jazz, and then also like a classical training. Like when I was growing up, like my parents are both musicians. And my dad's an orchestral conductor, and my mom's a classical pianist. But my dad also played saxophone until he was like 26, then went back to school and did the classical thing, became a composer, got a PhD in composition, all this stuff. And so like when I was growing up, there was like a lot of order in terms of like, my mom was my teacher. Yeah. And so a lot of classical music. My dad played me Oscar Peterson records. It was very, and then going through college, going to NYU, getting a master's degree in composition, writing a piano concerto, writing string quartets, doing all this stuff, making, like acoustic jazz records, and trying to, like, for me, like, my biggest hero at the time was, like, Brad Mehldau, like, really trying to get in his world, and maybe actually to a fault. But then, like, coming out of that, and actually, like, meeting you guys, and kind of also saying, like, wait, hold on, there's another thing happening. And so I would say that, honestly, for, like, what I'm putting out now, like, that has a huge role in, like, switching me. And then so if people are saying, how do you do that, how you breaking it in half, how are you chopping out but also doing the sound thing. So it's like it's those kind of two worlds colliding for me that has created that.
Man, I love that. And it's such an interesting, we do this a lot as musicians too, to where like we kind of complete each other's path a little bit. And man, you did that for me, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but the first time I met you, I was like, oh dope, this kid plays the keys, let me YouTube him. Man, I saw some damn video of you playing Trio at the Blue Note, and it was just like, oh, let me check out Julian Pollack. And I like at the time like, bro, but it was so, but I had heard you do like the lesson in gigs, and so I didn't know you had that. I was like, oh cool, this kid has the synthy stuff down word. And I heard that, and it like it simultaneously pissed me off and like I was like, damn, I gotta work. Like, and it was literally, I think, the same Like, and people who aren't experienced in our New York scene, I don't think will understand this, but imagine being a piano player from the Midwest who had never really heard cats be amazing. You know, like I grew up, Eldar was 3 hours away from me in Kansas City for a while. So I had heard him. So I had that thing, but I was never in close proximity to it. And I think within 1 week, bro, I heard you and Yuki both do gigs. And I was just like, fuck. Like, I'm fucked. You know, like, where do I go from this? And it literally made me go into not only like, okay, what do I do well? Let me make sure I'm really good at that. And then let me try and find something else, because these motherfuckers have weapons. You know, like there's the Swiss Army knife keyboard thing going on. So it's, man.
That's really cool. And I really think that's interesting how you say complete each other's paths, because like, you know, I feel that with all the education that we like receive, like for me in music school or something like that, then I feel like that was just halfway or even 25%. And then I was like, you know, with you guys, man, our other Christian, all of our friends, Yuki.
Shout out to Christian Alvarado.
Christian Alvarado. Yeah, to complete the educational process. And we're still learning, you know.
Man. It's funny because, like, I always say, whenever I talk about the band, I always talk about us being best friends, like the Lesson GK. Shout out to the Lesson GK.
Hey.
I always talk about us being best friends. Me, you, Nick, right? Julian, Christian, Dave Cutler, Phase One, Jonathan Hort, and how we're like a best friend group, and each one of us finds, like, wherever we're weak, each one of us can find confidence or strength in the other person for that thing. And like, it's like we all kind of complete each other and have, like, we've helped build each other in different ways. And just having that community, man, we're so lucky, because it's not just in a way that's like somebody you're watching from across the room who you're inspired by, but this is also somebody who what they say to you matters, because they're your friend, you know.
Yeah. And
so, like, for us to be able to have that and play our best when we're together and be, you know, a band and be family, like, it's like, that's mad rare. And just like you said, completing each other's paths, like, it's such a thing that, it's funny that you say that, because I always say that about us. I'm like, yo, we always, you know, anything that we're weak in, any area that we're weak in, we can find that strength in one of us in the group. We all have our strengths and stuff, and it's crazy.
Man, I have a feeling this is going to be a theme in these podcasts for me, but if you look at this educationally, there's two paths this goes for me, and one is like, if I'm talking to a young student or something, you know, I get a lot of, should I go to music school? You know, there's always a lot of people asking me about the college thing, and it's strange for me, because I do think that you can get a lot from it. I mean, a lot of the people I play, I mean, I think about people like Justin Tyson. It's like, man, you hear the street education.
Yeah.
You hear the school too. Like, it's in there. And like, you know, there's a lot of dudes who have the schooling, and you can hear it. But there's a very important dichotomy that I think is a requirement for today's scene, that you have to have some sort of basis in, like, normalcy that I think a school can show you. It's not a requirement. Like, I didn't go to school for that, but there's that platform, and then there's also this other, like, I don't know if it's an energy or a friendship or like a scene, but you have to be able to go from one to the other. You know, you have to be able to go to class at NYU and then go down the street to, like, Smalls, or even darker, you know, like go into these, like, house party jam sessions,
Bamboo.
Or Bamboo, like, man, you know, you go to these spots, like, you know, I remember going to Bamboo for the first time before the lesson. I don't know if it was before it started or maybe as it was starting, but Corey Bernhardt was still doing his session. And I can't remember who was all there, but I think it was DJ Ginyard, Corey Bernhardt, and Justin Tyson.
Most likely, yeah.
And I walk into the room, you know, again, having a little bit of education and knowing what I knew from the Midwest or whatever, but, like, if I wouldn't have heard that, you know, I don't know if I would have been pushed to the same heights, you know.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, it's so pathy. Like, it's about what you want to do. Like, when people, you know, fellow musicians ask me about school, like, I'm like, you shouldn't ask me about school because I didn't go to school. Like, I don't know a damn thing about school. But I do know that if you ask me, I'm kind of like the dude on the porch, or on the corner, like, nah, fuck all that. Yo, we going over here and we going to do it like this. So it's tricky, like, you know what I mean? But it depends on what you want. You know what I mean? Like, I remember some of the dudes on our block when we were growing up. Like, they'll always pull you to the side, and they're like, yo, come in. And you're just like, fuck, right? You're a kid. You're like, shit. All right. But you're like, let me go there. Let me not piss him off. He's like, yo, come in. He's like, yo, how's school, yo? And you're just like, oh, sorry. He's like, yo, you see this shit right here? And he'll show me, like, a tattoo or something. And be like, yo, this means whatever the fuck it meant. I don't remember. But I remember him being like, yo, this shit right here means like something like stay on the path or some shit like that. Like, yo, stay on the path. You in school? Yo, finish school. Yo, stay there. But you could tell he was speaking from like his experience of not finishing school. But then that's tricky because if I wanted to be like him, I have to not go to school. So it depends on what you want, right?
That's true.
But if he's like, yo, nah, you could do better, go to school. You know what I mean? So I'm more like the dude to be like, oh, look, if you want to do this, it depends on what you want. If you want to be, proficient and you want to have like a very specific, type of linear or I guess like direct career with music, you go to school and learn all the things. But if you want to be raw and like fucked up, like me as a junkie, like you know what I mean? So you got to tell them.
Junkie.
So music junkie. So thank you.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell them, look, man, honestly, don't go to school and just search, like it be as dirty as possible. So it depends on what you want. Not one is not better than the other.
No.
But it depends on what you want. So it's there's definitely things like you said, Nick, that you could benefit from going to school, and there's things you could benefit from just being like raw and being surrounded by the type of environments that you want. It's really about the type of thing you want. That's the environment you should be in the most, and you pick up from that.
I have a shout out to my boy Jamie Felici I'm about to talk about. But this buddy of mine back in Nebraska, that reminded me of how like everybody's path is different thing. And I used to play in indie rock bands with him back in Nebraska, and I lived in New York for 2 years or something at the time, and he comes up and he stays with me, and I just remember like taking him to all the like ins, like taking him to the lesson, taking him to this, taking him to that, and I was so hyped about the whole thing, like, yo, this is where the dirt is, like this is the dark, like these are where the hungry cats go. And I remember the whole time with him, there was this feeling of like, he grew up in Lincoln, I think, I'm pretty sure he was born in Lincoln, and the whole time he was just like, it wasn't right, there was something out. And I remember I got into the biggest, it was like a love argument, but he was like, man, I'm going back home. And at the time I was arrogant. I was like, nah, this is the path. Like, if you can't do this, it's nothing. And then like flash forward to 5-6 years later, it's like, man, that dude is killing back in Nebraska. He's like engineering for like this huge company. He has his own studio. He's like, in a house. He's like in a super happy relationship, and every time I see him, he's just glowing. I'm thinking like, damn, if you would have stayed in New York, like you would have been hella dark, And so like that's totally true. It really, there's no
it's just a
stock
preference
advice.
Thing.
There's no like one way to do it.
And there's so many variables, right? There's personality. Like they say, it's not the brush, it's the painter, right? So like you could be handed all this information and do nothing with it. You can be handed all this like experience, and look at how many people. I'm just being honest. Look how many people are seen for ages but haven't changed or grown or become. Just off of observation, like. So it's not always.
Yo, let's name them.
Yo, I'm about to listen right now.
No. Just kidding, guys.
No, I'm kidding.
We love everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's about, it's also a matter of who you are and how you internalize and interpret things and what you do with the information experience that you get. Not everybody gets to have that, or some people are very like. I know you can't see my hand gesture, but very
He's,
like
he's doing the hit your hand sideways chop.
against the palm
palm
like
chop.
direct symbol.
I'll take a picture of it later.
Yeah, and that'll be the
it'll
picture.
be in the link. Yeah.
It'll be the thumbnail. But yeah, man. So it depends. You know what I mean? It just depends on whatever. So
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like New York was absolutely necessary for me as a player, but I think if I was still there now, I'd be super dark.
for sure.
I mean, I think, for me, it was going there, taking the advice of my teacher, Dana Murray, who taught me 2/3 of the things I know about music. Now being out here, you focus on a different part of the hang. You focus on the mental aspect of it, or I focus on the mental aspect of it. And it's made touring for me way more fun. It's made music for me way more fun because now I've taken all the mechanical parts and the spiritual part, and like now faded it into like the meaning. Like, what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could play from that, but can you live from that?
Yeah.
And it's a whole different ballgame. So like, yeah, man, you grew up in the Bay.
Yeah.
And then you moved to New York. Give me the timeline.
13 years, right?
So like when I was 18, went to NYU, did the college thing.
Oh, you were an NYU kid.
Yeah, I did undergrad and grad there.
Shit.
Yeah. And then I was there another 6 years after that.
Yeah.
And then
What's your degree in?
I got a bachelor's in jazz and composition and piano.
Yeah.
And then the master's was also in the same thing.
Oh.
It was...
Word.
and this is something actually I wanted to ask you, man.
Yeah.
And this is something I've been thinking about lately.
Sure.
It's funny how education can be a crutch
Of course.
sometimes. And how, especially for me, I'd say my biggest thing was the visual element of music. And I'm talking about reading music.
Oh, yeah.
And
we were talking about that earlier with... Man, y'all can't see this, but this dude is sight reading some of the craziest classical shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, it looks like the Russian language to me. I can't tell what's going on. yeah, it's all confusing.
But...
Man, I'm really happy that you listeners can't see us because no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean it's like in school we're taught to read, and even in jazz music, and then whatever the jazz musicians look on as popular music. That's another conversation. It's like everybody's all about the visual component when you're in school. Can you read? Can you write this thing down? Can you read from it? Instead of internalizing it. It's like when you were in school, I feel like you're you've internalized a lot of things.
Yeah.
When you were in school, were you...
I didn't go to school for music.
You didn't?
I didn't
know
get
that.
accepted into school for music.
What?
I want to make sure I mention this every podcast. The University of Nebraska did clap, not clap, except clap me. Clap. All my study was private. So I took the 30-second background is I took 15 years of Suzuki classical from a lovely older lady named Norma Moxness in Fremont, Nebraska.
Hey.
So all that, Suzuki piano is hella ear training. Like that's why I've always felt very comfortable learning lines and hearing chords and just being like, oh, word, cool. So there was that. And then when I got to be 18, 19, I met 3 or 4 people in Omaha. Shout out to the Jazz Holes. That was the name of the band, the Jazz Holes.
Wow.
And those dudes had all pretty much been educated in music. I think the drummer Matt went to music school, I believe. And Andrew, the guitar player, did for a little bit. I don't know if Seth, the bass player, did, but all still musicians, all still killing it. And I just surrounded myself with people who kind of were like, nah, you need to study privately past that. So, I would share with them every day, but they were all taking from a gentleman named Dana Murray, who he lived in Omaha, and he played drums for Wynton Marsalis, for Nora Jones. He was like an Omaha to New York, back to Omaha guy. So I started studying time and rhythm with him, and he's actually where I got the term the grid, which is I think what we're going to call this podcast, Grid Kids. But he's where I got that in. We'll definitely dive into that here in a minute. So I studied privately with him, and then I did a little bit of piano study back home with random people who were around, but I didn't really study privately with anyone else. You know, most of my education was Dana or the church under Dia Harriet in New York. You know, she was beating me up with church tunes.
See,
like, learn this.
And that was all by ear, right?
Yeah, and in church you had to, you know, you would go to church and learn like a 5-minute, 6-minute Ty Tribbett tune, like hella intros, hella sections and hits and like reharms, and I would learn the whole thing. We'd get there the day of and she'd be like, nah, step and a half down. Woo. Ready, go, bam. And you just have to like, and for me, and this is the closest, you know, I was never, you know, my family was like probably middle class growing up, so I was never like super like screwed, you know, but when I got to New York, you know, was kind of the end of their support for me, and like that was the first situation where I was really in the situation of like, I got to figure it out, you know, like if I don't have this gig, like damn, you know, I was working at Radio Shack, bro. So when that church thing started happening, every Sunday I was going in thinking like, damn, if I don't kill this Sunday, I gotta put in mad more hours at Radio Shack.
You know, that's the best fire there is.
Dude, I was shedding 10 hours a day for the first 2 years. I mean, probably 50 hours a week. Because I would go and I was like, man, if she gives me 8 tunes, I'm learning all 8 tunes in every key. So like all those, we'd be doing Doobie Powell tunes that have just hella, Kevin Powell's just crushing these changes. I'm like, all right, screw it. I don't know what key I gotta play this in. Just take it in every key. All, you know, hella John Peters lines, like just learning every one of them. You know, so that stuff to me was all very, very internal. I don't know if I didn't have the chance or I didn't want to do the other way, but regardless, that's just kind of how it ended up. Is like your education is just in the field.
That's like the best to me. Hearing this now,
Yeah.
That's like the best scenario ever. Because think about all these kids in college, including myself, who are like, okay, mommy and daddy are paying for school. Cool. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I might flunk, but really, they're not going to flunk me because I'm paying them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of kids at school who would pass and were whack. Sorry, I'm just going to say it.
No, that's good.
Like, you know, they get like a B. You know? And for you, it's like, oh, wait, I'm going to have to work at Radio Shack if I'm not fucking crushing the shit. That is what we need.
Yeah.
But what's funny about that is that just reminds me of, and I'm going to be very candid.
Yeah, please.
Growing up, like, I'm not trying to make this a race thing, but growing up black in, like, certain neighborhoods or New York, everything was based on angst. Like, that's just the way things were set up. Everything was about angst, and everything was a sense of urgency. There was no planning. It was all about
fear.
Everything out of fear, and which is interesting, because if you think about all, like, the quote-unquote black experience and, like, all the music that comes out of, like, from, you know, our... culture,
all American music.
Oh yeah,
all of it.
Right, that comes out of exactly. When you think about the music that comes out of the culture, it's always out of like pain. It's always out of something being wrong and trying to like find a way to like match that, you know, or express that, you know, musically, since that's what we had. So like that, when you say that, that's the seed. Like that's the same thing. I hope this is translating the way I'm trying to say it. Like that's exactly that. Like I'm listening to you, I'm like, that's so funny. That was your version of what I experienced, where it was just nothing but fear. Everything was about navigating around some bullshit that like you're worried about, and then you develop in ways that you couldn't have planned or even like gone to school for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that is so interesting and exciting, you know what I mean? But that was the whole. That's why when people are like, "Yo," you know, it's funny hearing like people come from Europe or come from other countries and like, "Yo, I want to go to like a gospel church. I want to go to like, I want to go to like I want to go to hip hop show. Where's the hip hop hangs? Where's the you know?" And it's because they, you know, they want to go to these things, but it's like, do you know why these things are the way they are? It's not that somebody institutionalized or conceptualized, which they try to do, right? They try to put everything in school at some point because enough people want it. But it's not, these are happy accidents or
sad
accidents. These are accidents that just happen, and now it's popularized and people are like, yo, that shit is dope. But it's like, yeah, you know what motherfuckers had to go through that came out of. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. Again, I'm not like deliberate, like purposefully being like, yo, nah, but race.
No,
but like,
no, I feel well, and let me give you an alternative one just on my angle. Like, you know, there was definitely a sort of struggle of like, you know, if I don't do this, I got to go back to work in a Radio Shack. But I'm going to throw some real in and then come back out of it. The reality is, my parents would have saved me. Like, if I wouldn't have made it, they would have saved me. The pressure that I think I came from was that my situation was easy. It was, I'm the youngest of 6 boys. You know, my family was very supportive. And I always, and it took me until the last couple of years to realize this, but I always kind of had this like, man, why do I feel so much damn pressure here? And it's because I had no excuse. It was like, man, if you aren't amazing, like where to go wrong, bro? You know, so it's not as life or death as like getting out of the hood or something, or creating something from where there's nothing. But like, I definitely used it. It was a fear thing too.
It's the same fear. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's I was saying that to exemplify the human experience of like fear, what it could do, and how I relate to what you're saying through this experience. Is just like, whoa, that's how you felt, and then that's how you became the Nick Semrad you are today. It's because of like these sense of urgencies where it's like, nope, I'm not about to just be, you know, whatever the fuck. I'm gonna like.
Well, and I think the baddest shit comes from a lot of it. I can't say all of it because I think that there are people who find a better, probably a more productive path through this. But I think the baddest shit comes from the scariest places. You know, like, man, I mean, it's weird watching these like documentaries about like the Beach Boys. And seeing like Brian Wilson, like where his mind was at when he was making Pet Sounds. Like I'm sure some historians will correct me on this, and please do, and if there's a comment section of this somewhere. But I think that dude basically, like, he was kind of nuts anyway. I think hearing the Beatles drove him, he was gone.
Yeah.
Like, he heard the Beatles and was like, oh shit, that's, like, I don't feel complete unless I can compete with that. And so he, like, that was a dark place because the Beatles are the greatest band of all time. So, you know, he's taking his darkness and going, like, go. And because of that, he made Pet Sounds, which was just like...
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I appreciate... It's funny because, like, everything kind of carries over. Like, the day that I stopped sweating the drums is when I got better. Like, when I stopped sweating, like, music itself and stopped putting it on a pedestal and realizing that the drums can't do a damn thing without me. Like, if it's sitting there, it's not going to do anything. So it's not about me sitting on the drums and figuring out how to get good at drums. But so instead of outsourcing, like, my abilities, like, I realized I just have to improve as a human being and really hold my own experience and the experiences that I have. And I'll be able to hear it translate, you know, through the music. So it's funny because, like, pointing at that made me lose my train of thought.
No, you're good.
But... you know, for me, like, it's like letting go of or appreciating like how everything carries over, like other disciplines and aspects can carry over. So I realized, okay, if I want to improve, so to speak, quote unquote, whatever that means, I have to personally, internally improve, whatever that means. And I could go into that. That's a whole other conversation. But once I let the drums go and was like, fuck you and your independence and your like 5/90, you know, I don't know any of that and I don't care. Like, I let that go because I was like, man, I need my experience as a human being to translate through what I'm doing when I decide to play the drums, right? So I got to a place where I wanted to put myself back in the middle instead of like putting music on a pedestal. So, because it's just like switching languages, right?
Sure.
Or tools or ways of communicating. Like, you can switch a language but still mean exactly what you're saying, right? Or whatever you're saying, that's exactly, you're coming from wherever you're coming from.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I appreciate, like, in terms of like the different aspects and things that carry over into music, I appreciate like the whole like athletic mindset.
Absolutely.
Where it's just like, it's like competing. It's like competing. Like the anxiousness of just like competing or overcoming or achieving. You know what I mean? I appreciate that part. You know what I mean? There's plenty of drummers that I would not listen to personally because I don't care for what they do, but I think they're incredible because I love like drive.
The Bo Jacksons.
Yeah, exactly. I love drive, and I love like just like vigor and just like rawness and bleeding and sweating. So it's I appreciate how everything can translate. And it doesn't just have to be about this music world. I don't have to put a music hat on. It just exists. It's just me. Yeah. And when I decide I'm not going to talk anymore, I'll play. And when I decide I'm not going to play anymore, I'll fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I just switch up.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
No, I feel you though.
But it's everything relates and connects. And I think until people, like you said, a lot of the best stuff comes out of like scary places or some sort of, pressure, Yeah. Shout out to Contents Under Pressure. Shout out to Harry Mack. That's the name of his new album or whatever. But when contents are under pressure, that's when stuff be, it be popping, And that's the whole thing with when we were doing the lesson. Every single week we were competing against ourselves because we were doing it very often, you know what I mean? And we're like, all right, we got to be, but then there's these other messages and things that are the garnish or the things that are kind of like tweaking what we're doing. And then there's the personal experience. And then there's the experience amongst the band itself where we're like, we're pushing each other and putting pressure and getting annoyed at each other. But like, it was like healthy at the same time. So it's just like, it's just the human experience, man. It's everything. It's everything.
It's strange being able to feed off of someone else's experience too. Like, shout out to Rabbi Darkside.
Hey.
I remember we were talking about 5 Points earlier. The graffiti spot in Long Island City.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I remember there was an event there right before. I don't know a ton, not super versed in it, but I think they tore it down or they painted over it or something like that. And there was an event like right before that happened, and I remember like Rabbi was heavily involved in trying to save that whole spot. And even though he wasn't like playing an instrument at the lesson, I remember the next lesson, and that I remember specifically some other stuff that happened to me that week that was crazy. But I just remember coming to a lesson and like he was in such a place, and so I can't remember if he was either DJing or rhyming with us at the time, but I could feel his like, damn, my cause is gone, and it was like, word, I'm going to battle with you. Like I'm not even, that's not even my hang. Like I appreciate it, but I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
And like like being able to harness someone else's experience, or like, man, this is something I love Corey for, is that we've had,
shout out to Corey Henry.
Yeah, Corey Henry's, I mean,
the Funk Apostles.
He's a genius. But I've been playing with them for 5 years now. And there's been, we've been on the road a lot and experienced a lot of like death in the hang, like friends dying, parents, grandparents, relatives, whatever. And he's one of the best people I've ever met at being able to like hear like, oh man, something happened to my dude or something happened to my girl. Let me take that and just go like straight up Goku, Ryu Fireball.
Yeah.
And like, man, I feel like he'll cry for me sometimes. I had some relationship go down recently, I'm sure some of you people know, but like I told him that, and then the next day he took a solo and was just staring at me bawling. And he's like, man, I'm just thinking about your situation. I was just like, oh,
damn.
Jeez. And and that, like, so he takes mine. It's like everybody becomes an amplifier.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, nah, I'm going to take your thing and go in. And then you have Tehran going, damn, he's crying. I'm going to cry. And like everyone on stage is bawling. And we're a funk band, but we're playing just like the dirtiest.
Yeah.
It's like whatever you do, amplifier.
Yeah.
And like, it's such a great power to have, and it's almost impossible to educate.
And that's what I'm trying to say, man. Like,
you gotta be in it.
You gotta be. You have to. Something has to click, and it depends on who you are. Not everyone will get that. It depends on who you are. And the day that something, you can only know 5 notes And the day something clicks, when you realize it's about the human experience and rawness, you will just crush those 5 notes.
Dude, BB King, man.
It's called the Pentatonic Scale.
yeah. Dude, BB King would take a solo with 3 notes and just be like, man, I don't care about any of y'all.
But I love that. I love that, man. Like, because that says a lot about. Because I talk a lot lately about empathy and like people's ability to empathize and be compassionate and hold each other's experience. You know what I mean? And like that's huge. That's huge. And he deserves you as well. Like being able to hold someone's experience and support them from even a distance. Yeah. And empathize. Like you deserve to be great. You deserve to be able to because that, you know, it's hard to have room. Just being a human being, it's hard to just even have room. Yeah. So the fact that there's even like some kind of space where you can hold someone's experience and then translate it through the music, you deserve to be special and be great. And it makes sense. It's actually working in reverse because we can ask you all kinds of questions about how you got to where you got and how did you do this and how did you do that. And just hearing that one story is like, oh, there it is. Yeah. That's why. like it's just these raw human characteristics that that enable you to execute the way you do or play or express yourself the way you do. You know what I mean?
Well, and I got to give it up to just, you know, I spend a bunch of my time in Europe. I'm over there probably 6-7 times a year. And I think that, and I don't think some of these people know why, but like when they start these paths, but they realize it later, like I've met so many European musicians who, and man, Asian musicians too. I mean, really from everywhere. I've just been to those 2 places the most. But, you know, I catch these young musicians from these places, and they embark on this search of like, man, I heard a D'Angelo record, or I heard a Mos Def record, and I'm like, I want that. But they go past, you know, you could stop at the, I heard it, I'm going to copy it, cool. But, dude, they know. Like especially, you know, I think about, I mean, man, there's too many of them to mention. There's so many of these heavy European cats who will hear that stuff and go, okay, cool. You know, we have the recordings of it here, but nah, I gotta go.
I gotta
be in it. And they know, you know, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes they go and they're in it, and they're like, oh shit, I get this. Like, this is how I'm gonna get that spirit. Yeah. And some of them find that they're not ready for it, but even just the fact that like you go and you're in it and you're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go back and do some other career, you know, that's not this, because now I know I don't love it. Just the fact that you came over, shit,
that says a lot about
like there's so many people that don't leave, you know, I mean, we've all been, you know, like you still live in New York, but you've traveled like madness. I mean, you've lived in hella different places now. I've lived in hella different places now. Like you get so much more by going somewhere else.
100%.
I mean, I'm sure, I know I've talked to you a little bit about this, Julian, but like going from Bay to New York to LA, like each one of those things is giving you a piece. You know, and I can hear it in your playing. I mean, I haven't even known you that long, but I can hear it. Like you went from this thing to that thing to that thing. And like each one of them is like, okay, cool, let me go next step, you know? And it's like, it's really heavy, man. It's crazy. That's like the best advice you can give a young person is just like, don't be afraid to chase it. Yeah. Be in it, you know?
Be in it. Like, and then while you're in it, because that's the thing, right? Like a lot of times, especially with the event, with the lesson, like I a lot of the biggest compliments or things that I receive as compliments when people come to me and they go, yo, you know, this reminds me of old New York. That's what a lot of New Yorkers would say to me. And it's like, see, you're talking about an experience. You're not talking about like the licks or any kind of chop. You're talking about the experience. Yo, this whole thing reminds me of old New York. Thank you, right? Yeah. Or people come from other countries or other places and go, yo, when I used to imagine New York and I would visit New York, this is what I would imagine. I haven't seen that till I got to this. Yeah. But what is it? What are you talking about? You're talking about an experience.
You know, it's funny.
So people's ability to be able to hold an experience or see something and receive it or translate it as an experience and grow from that, that's the biggest thing that'll not just set people apart, but the biggest thing for growth is the ability to hold an experience. So it's one thing to go and chase something. That's the initial step. when you get there, the deciding factor will be how well can you submerge yourself in just being and just acknowledging like, yo, there is stuff to this. There are things that I have never seen, but it created this. Mm-hmm. That thought alone, in addition to realizing I need to go somewhere else to get something, that thought also is what will, what changes people, man, or what makes them grow, so to speak,
Oh, that's like preacher hour.
Preacher hour.
No, that's. I mean, man.
Yo, send your money.
Yeah. Yo, send me your cash app.
Dude, I bet. See, I don't even know. Do preachers take Cash App? They probably do Venmo and Cash App and PayPal and shit.
I definitely want that preacher
money.
Car, though.
Preacher money.
Help
Yo, new album, Preacher Money.
Preacher money.
Yo, that's hard, bro. That shit is hard. Preacher Money.
Speaking of new albums, Julian, you just put out a single.
Hey.
You just put out a single called The Crab, and it's crushing. This is my shameless plug. Yeah, man, it's been a heavy realization on how much that stuff matters as I get older, mm-hmm. And I really try and take it for more educational. I try and give it more educational value, like as I teach more and as I talk to students about, just like don't discount that part of it, like whatever you're learning, whatever you're working on, there's so much more to it, and there's so many pieces that you can get. Like, man, Dave Cutler said this to me one time. Like, I was trying to work on stuff, and he motivated me because I was like, bro, what are you practicing? I tried to get what are you working on? And he was like, yeah, I'm just working on life. And the craziest shit to me is like a year after that, completely different bass
person.
Player.
Yep.
Like person and bass player.
Yep.
Like I would have never. Like when he told me that, I have my old. I'm a bit of a smartass, but I really was like, oh yeah, cool, bro. You keep me. Yeah,
it's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. And then a year later, he's like, nah, I'm a monk. And like I feel like, man, a lot of these dudes go through that. I mean, yeah, you can hear someone's experience.
A select few.
Yeah, I mean, it can't. It's got to be organic.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's tough to plan the. It's tough to plan the. Like, let me go through some stuff. DJ hang.
DJ. Because we just hit a point in the conversation that's so real. You know what I'm saying? So whoop, 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 whoop. You know what I mean?
Man, here's a weird question. Name me, and I'm gonna give you one because I think I have the easiest one. Other than our hang, name me a musician where you can hear emotion the most. Oh. Like, so I gotta shout out Bernice.
Oh.
Bernice Earl Travis.
Yeah.
I feel like
When you say hang, do you mean like other than just our group, or does that include extended lesson family?
It can be, yeah.
Or beyond extended lesson family.
It would be dope to educate some people. I mean, everyone knows a lot of people know who Bernice is, but like some of my camp, some of Corey's camp may not. Bernice Earl Travis plays bass for Glasper, plays bass for like
Common.
Everybody, yeah, Common. He's August Green.
August Green.
Yeah, he plays bass in August Green. Man, that dude, like when you hear Bernice play, it's. I always tell. I might have ripped this from you, so call me out if I did. Okay. But you remember that movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze? Uh-huh. Okay, you know how those demons that came up from the ground that were like, yeah. When I hear Bernice play, I see that. Like I'll hear him play. He'll be playing for like some jazz, whatever.
At Lincoln Center.
Yeah, some like super nice shiny thing, and I just hear like, you hear that thing come out. And you're just like, damn, man, that shit sounds
Bernice,
like demons.
Bro, Bernice and I used to play like these little like raw ass gigs where like rehearsal was like in a house in fucking Brownsville. You know what I mean? Bernice, I don't even remember the area in Brooklyn, but like we would go to rehearsal and then, Bernice was mad young, I was mad young. We had to be like, I feel like we were like 20, probably like 22 at the time, 23. And like we'll be doing these little gigs, or maybe younger, but we'd be doing like rehearsal, and then you lug your shit to the R Bar, like you know what I mean, which is an old venue that closed down. But like these raw ass venues where they're just like, yeah, set up in a corner and play if you want. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like we would, but there was always that like you hear the experiences, man, like because it was so. You know, you loved music, but it was so uncomfortable. Like just running from gig to gig, these tiny little gigs at these tiny little raw old venues in New York that most of them are all closed now. Yeah. But you know, the Boulevard, Crash Mansion, R Bar, Santos Party, how like all these like random gigs, and we'll pull up, and then everybody, you know, you had the trumpet player, but he was also the keyboard player, and he had like a long like ripped up like trench coat. But you know, he had dreads.
You know, like an archetype of musician.
Yeah, but he's holding. He has no case for the keyboard, but he's holding it on his arm and holding no case for the trumpet. And just holding both of them shits. And he's at the gig, and we set up and crushed Jesse Boykins back then. Like this. Yeah. We were all like kids. Some other musicians, man. They used to sit it. Like we used to just set up. Andrew Peruzzi, Gabe Smith. Yeah, Gabe Smith from the Bronx.
Like all these like his bass downstairs.
Yeah. He like, didn't even have a case for his bass. You go to pick him up, and he's just dragging his bass down the steps, like because he's late, and he's like, do.
And his bass sound like it's been dragged around.
And it sound like, but it was so dope, you know. But stuff like that, like yeah, Burness has that feeling, that sound where you can tell like this experiences.
Who's your emotional warrior music wise? I'll throw that one to you too, Julian.
Musical, I got a couple, man. All right, Brian Blade. Should it be somebody like?
Wow. Nah, that's totally fair.
Okay, Brian Blade. I personally relate to Brian Blade the most out of any drummer I've ever seen. I relate, like I'm just like
violence.
I'm like, yo, violent. I kind of feel like, can I be honest? And this might be a bold thing to say, but the way he plays and how violent he is, I feel like I'm his reincarnation overlapped. Like I feel like we overlap. Like I was supposed to wait until he died and then come back as me. But I'm like, whoops, we existed at the same time. See, you know, but like, cause honestly, his playing for me, I'm not saying I'm like as good as him.
You guys are different.
I'm
different
way vibes, different, but like
emotionally, I see it.
It's the same. It's like you know, just like yeah. And I love Brian Blade because of that. And he's so mean.
Yeah, dude's heavy. What was the famous? Video of him soloing and just knocking every drum over. It was like
the snare drum felt right. So. And again, I'm just being on it, like being open.
I saw that twice a month. He had some shit break and just like, screw it.
But that's the thing. So then people, when that video came out of Brian Blade's drum falling with him still smacking the shit out of it, so many people sent that to me. Yo, this reminds me, because when I play Things Fall Over or Break very often, and I'm just like, nope, I don't give a fuck playing it. And I love that, man. He just even him doing that, like, you know, it's like having company. You're just like, cool, affirmation. Totally. Yeah. You're just like, yeah, let's go. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people wouldn't recover from that, man. I mean, man, I've seen basses break and drums break, and like people are just like, oh no, I guess I gotta go home. It's like, nah, bro, you gotta stay out. Yeah. Like, figure it, like,
man. That's life, right? Like that, like, it reflects life. Shit is gonna go wrong. Nah, I gotta now navigate. I gotta maneuver around.
You gotta sing your keyboard part. You gotta sing your keyboard part.
Or like your keyboard stand breaks and then you just make a video. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Jeff Babko.
Yo, I watched that shit so many times.
Dude, God. His video of like making fun of himself about that was one of the greatest media pieces I've ever seen. It was like an infomercial on how awkward that was. And I just, man, that made me love that guy so much. Dude, Julian Pollack, give me your emotional music warrior.
Man, I mean, besides the obvious, actually this is the obvious. I just right now, like while I'm thinking of it, actually Miles.
Ooh, yeah.
Because recently I just ended up watching a bunch of Miles interviews and like late Miles videos because of playing with Marcus Miller, and I just went down that rabbit hole, and just seeing what type of artist he is, and like a lot of things we're talking about, I see that in him.
Yeah.
And especially later in life, and when he's talking about in his interviews, just the kind of like talking about the angst, talking about the rawness, just talking about the no bullshit.
Yeah.
And also his quest to always keep it moving.
Sure.
To just like, he never repeated anything. His fans will say basically like, you know, his career ended in 1970 because he stopped playing jazz. But actually, if you check out the rest of his career, the shit that he was putting out in the 70s, 80s, in the 80s is fire.
Yeah.
You have to go there with him though.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me that's just like, I feel like I'm always kind of like going in and out of things, and in my career, you know, I put out a bunch of acoustic jazz records, but now I'm mostly doing like shit that's influenced by electronics and hip hop and stuff.
Yeah.
But I find that that's fresh to keep it always, you know, current, and to keep it moving.
Sure. Man, this is a good hypothetical, and I've been thinking a lot about the. And I'm probably going to do a whole podcast on this at some point, but it won't be today. But just the, you can get up, Lenny. Lenny got to go to the bathroom.
I felt caught.
No, I'm just going to call you out. So
We got to celebrate his birthday in 7 minutes.
Oh, yeah, we're going to burn
No,
it.
we take our time. We got time.
Shout out to Lenny Reece.
Thank
He's in the
you.
room. It's his birthday. He turned 23. I wonder, this is a weird question, but I wonder how involved Miles would have been with Instagram. Because there is, and I will openly admit that I have fallen under the spell, and one of my New Year's resolutions was to figure out a way out of it, but the Instagram career.
Let's talk about it.
We'll go there a little bit. And it's an interesting thing because it exists. It's like you can be a player who just, you know, goes on Instagram and can kill it, and that's all it is, you know. And it's interesting to me because it's valid, you know, like it's not what I want to do, but it grabs me sometimes, you know, like I find like, oh damn, there's motherfuckers have like 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 followers, like, man, I want that validation, let me go. And so then I start changing the way I'm playing to do that, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's a bad thing, because I know that like it is a career. You know, there's people who can make a ton of money doing the influencer thing online. You can do you can be that guy and do clinics and do solo shows or whatever. But I find that it makes me play in a really dishonest fashion.
That's real.
For me,
No,
I'm not calling a scene out. I'm not trying to say that there's people out here that suck or anything. It's just like, no, I catch myself, man. I catch myself trying to play like the cooler chord in the spot where it doesn't need to be, or like the lick in the spot where it doesn't need to be, or something like that. And man, every time I do it, it's crazy, man. Like, I mean, I don't have a ton of followers online, but it's like 17,000. And like the shit that I get the most views on is the shit I hate the most. You know, like I'll put up a picture of like me and like John McLaughlin or something like that. It's like, that's a legend.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I have this
It's Lenny,
cough.
it's Lenny Reece's birthday.
It's me aging.
Yeah, you know, but I'll put up a picture of John McLaughlin or like a picture of me and Marcus or something like that. And like, you know, it's like, damn, these guys are like pioneers. Like the amount of shit that, even though I'm not a huge fan of all of his music, the amount of shit that Marcus Miller has done to change the world of music is unbelievable. Like he pioneered a style. The way he practiced was insane. I heard stories about him like doing a decibel reading on every note on the bass, so he made sure all his slapping was the same intensity. That's nuts. That's the definition of practicing weird. Like the shit that I always say, like, he's the first guy, or not the first, but you know, he's a pioneer. And like, so you'll do something where you're like, bro, I'm hanging with these people, and it'll get like, all right, 300-400 likes, work, cool. I'll put up a video of me going like, playing a hymn and doing like 3 cute chords, and it's like bam, everyone goes on. It's like, man, all those chords were the same chord. You know?
Well, it's like we live in a time now where, you know, the kids, because let's face it, that's the primary audience of Instagram.
Sure.
You know, it's like they're ingesting this material in a way that, you know, they're not ingesting the whole thing. They're just getting these little tidbits.
It's the end product. They're getting the end product.
You mean like years and years of experience?
Yeah. So for instance, okay, so let me take Mono Neon as an example. Genius musician. Like I think
Shout out to Mono Neon.
Yeah, shout out to Mono Neon, man. I think he's of my favorite bass players that are in the world currently, top 3, easy. Like it's you know, he's incredible, and playing with him, he just does some like pioneering ass shit every time. But so he'll put up a video of him playing bass over something, and like people I don't think they know what he went through to get there. And I'm not even talking about life. Like that's a whole other part.
Yeah.
But even just like you know, I've had to tell people, everyone's like, oh man, he just plays so weird. Like, yo, I'm gonna try and catch that. I'm like, you don't realize how much he plays.
Yeah.
Like, I've done a little bit of touring with Mono. That motherfucker practices 12 hours a day. He'll be in front of you. You'll be having a conversation with him. He's shedding. That dude is in love with the bass. And when you see him on Instagram, you see that end product. And he's not even necessarily one of the people I'm talking about, because I think he's a dude who can do that first take. But there's a bunch of you know, other versions of this, and again, I'm totally being open and admitting, like, I'll do a video and I'll fuck up 3 or 4 times, put one out, but it's not, you know, we're in this scene now to where that's okay. And I guess I'm just bringing it up just because I'm curious on how some of those old legends would have approached it, because you know some of them would have, you know, like I'm sure some of those dudes would have been like, fuck yeah, like let's go and let me do this Instagram clip.
Well, look at Marcus, man. He's got like maybe 60,000 followers, I think, or maybe 70,000. And, you know, he seems to like, you know, he doesn't really give a fuck. You know, like he and his team, they have people put, you know, at the shows doing the videos and whatnot. But I think it's just, you know, it's a generational thing. And if he was around, you know, if he was a much younger, maybe he'd be on the Mono Neon shit. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe it would be the same thing. It's just, I think that the Instagram thing, the way I look at it is it's a tool.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people look at it as the end product.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's a lot of cats who are like playing drums who've never toured with anybody, but they just have their practice room. They have their sick cameras. Shout out to sick cameras. But, you know.
Dude, and I'm guilty here. Like I have 2 cameras in my backpack.
Right,
like,
it's not about.
But for you and
Nick,
for us all here, it's a tool.
Stop it, Nick.
Well,
You don't get to.
well, but I guess the reason I'm saying is because it's something I struggle with. Like,
what you're trying to do is
you want that. It's a certain level of validation.
Sure, but also, I mean, it's not so binary. It's not so like black and white.
Of course.
It's not like it's either the person who wants, like, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a tool, right? So the thing about it is, there are some people who are strictly on there for entertainment. There's some people who are strictly on there because they want to be inspired. There are people who are strictly on there because they want to keep up with whatever's happening. Mm-hmm. There's people on there for all kinds of reasons. You know, the person who it's just, Instagram to me is just another thing that like that bit like a business, any business, every business that you've ever seen has had to conform or adapt something in some way. Mm-hmm. I always tell people like this, like they go, I hate Instagram, because there was a time when I hated Instagram. But you know, not hated it, but social media just drives me nuts, like the idea. But I get it though, and I understand why it's necessary. And the thing is, there was a time, and I tell people this all the time when they say, "Oh, I hate Instagram." It's like, yo, there was a time where the White House didn't have computers. You know what I mean? But they had to, because that's just the direction. You know, it's technology to improve or to be more efficient or proficient. You need a computer. You know what I'm saying? So then now it's not just enough to have a computer. So it's just another way, like how back in the day, signatures were enough. You get people to sign off on something. So you get people to sign signatures. You go to each house, sign signatures. But then they got to fast forward. They got to a point where it was about how many emails you got. What's your email list looking like? Word, that's your email list.
Some people still there, bro.
We're booking you. We're booking you.
Yeah.
You got what's your email list like? Okay, bet you got 5,000.
Yeah.
We're booking you.
Sure.
Then now it's followers.
Yeah.
Right, and it's all the same thing. Like you know what I mean? We could sit here and I check myself a lot because I'm like in New York. I'm like, damn, New York is so different. New York is not like what it was, man, in 95, 96, 92, 91. Like New York is so different, right? And I could complain. But then I'm sure there was some Dutch motherfucker that was like, yo, New York is so different, from what it was, or the Native Americans. New York is so different, man. Like, I remember when, there used to be a pond over here. now there's a statue of a bull. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so shit is always changing,
I'm trying to steal a quote from each one of these podcasts and put as like the advertisement. Yeah, that might be it.
Yo, there used to be some kind of... We used to ride these horses down the street. Now there's cars, So it's like shit changes, man, and that's just the nature of it. And,
you're totally right.
And you just gotta and you don't have to blame... I think I'm being very careful. I'm being about blaming... Not blaming, but like I'm being gentle with myself about
of course.
Instagram. I'm like, you know what? It's just... It's like you said, it's a tool. I'm just using it. If I gotta do a take 9 times before I put the right take up... It's like, that's okay. It's advertising.
It is advertising.
Businesses would do that. Right. Packaging, right? Like, look at how many times. Look at how you would look at a product, and if it's not packaged right,
can you imagine if Oreo was just like, here's the first one, go
in a paper bag.
Everybody eating Oreos instead of paper bags. Some kid drew on or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. But the packaging is everything. So if the people who are business savvy, they will take that and flip it and use it how they need to use it. Right. And then you're going to get a bunch of, people who are just on there because it's something fun to do and they want to post their life and they want to, and that's fine. But
so that will be the part that makes the people who use a ton of Instagram feel great. I'm gonna give a quick part that makes the people who don't use Instagram at all feel great. Ready? John Schofield, 1,600 followers. Pino Palladino, 14,000, less than me.
Yeah.
Pino Palladino, double musician. Stanley Clark, 18.8. Like, those are legends. Less than 20. And there are also legends who are like 50. So they've had a few years. Like,
they did it. And that's the thing. They did it at a time when it didn't exist.
The John Schofield at 16.
Here's the thing I would say to your listeners.
But check their net worth though. Some of us need that for exposure because of the time we're in and the age that we're in, and we're actually competing against that thing. Experience. Yeah, like we don't get to just pull up in a club and crush and then have our name spread. No. You better get on that site and post.
But I was gonna say is, for whoever's listening, and other musicians,
all 6 people that'll be.
Yeah, no, it's a the thing about it that I actually enjoy is the fact that if you're putting on a video, it's 1 minute at most, which means that it's no longer a 3-minute and 30-second song. It's no longer a 10-minute jazz thing where you got all these solos. You have to say what you're gonna say, get out, and actually, it's kind of like a new art form in the sense that it's like, what can you say? Can you just do like what's it called, a mise bouche or something? It's like a small little bite, and it's, for me, I've been finding it fascinating to say, okay, I'm going to use this idea in this amount of time. I don't have to think about the rest of the form. I don't have to think about playing for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And even like what we worked on the other day, just doing our little beat tape for we had songs that are like a minute and a half. It's like these little tastes, and it's like maybe now at this point in time, it's like back in the day when you had composers like Mahler and Wagner, Debussy, they're all taking the form and expanding it as far as it goes. Yeah. But then cats like Berg and like Schoenberg and all those cats came along and said, "Nah, we're doing something different." And people like Berg and they'd write pieces that were a minute and a half and just be out.
To be honest, so Instagram is one massive commercial.
Yeah.
It's just one massive commercial break.
Yeah.
Every time you go on Instagram, think about it. Because when you're done doing some shit and you get a second, what you do? You pull out your phone and start scrolling. Those are the advertisements, and they're 30 seconds each. They're 1 minute each. It's one big commercial break. So what happens is now, how do commercials work, right? So what I'm trying to say is this has existed for a long time. It's just now it's more accessible and more people can contribute. But commercials have always been there. Where after that, you figure after some show or program you're watching, they cut to a commercial. And then they figure out how to give you the best version of what it is to convince you. Yeah. And so that's what Instagram is, right? People going on there to convince you that to gain value through your eyes into what they're doing. So what happens is now, next thing you know, you got a bunch of people showing up to your show or whatever your thing is, or the way they view you or see you has been so curated, they think that your life is a certain way. Because perception is everything. So then now, all it is just advertisements and 30-second, 1 minute commercials all the time. And then, so that's literally all it is. And then, however that turns out, or however that improves your brand or your life or your whatever, that's what it does. But literally, it's just the same thing. Commercials have existed for so long. You know what I mean? It's just that now everyone has a commercial slot. And that's called an Instagram account.
Here's the one part I worry about is that, and I'll do this quick because I know we got to wrap it up. But when you advertise diet soda or you advertise gum, these are products that exist on their own. Like diet soda is a thing over here that we can either buy or not buy. We can't choose to be a diet soda, right? The difference with Instagram to me is you're taking a thing that we are, which is musician, as a product, which, again, always has kind of been there. But now you're making it seem like, there's this pathway to being a successful musician that lies through this. And that worries me because it creates a very specific type of musician, I think. Yeah. Or it can. Maybe it doesn't, but it can. And I just worry where that goes.
False advertisement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. You're saying people can be this, and I don't know. I do think there's merit in what it can do on an advertising level. I don't know, man. So much to think about. Julian, I'm hyped about. Y'all haven't seen them yet, but we've been recording trio videos. We've been doing some of the people in town for the lesson. We've been putting out these videos and clips that I'm sure will be coming out relatively soon, maybe.
Hopefully.
I think we have maybe a beat tape and maybe a record.
The record is on the horizon.
Yeah. Is your record done?
I'm almost done with it. It's gonna be like 13, 15 tracks of shit like The Crab, but also intermingled with some of the stuff from my Instagram. So like some of the things that I like the most, will kind of fade in, fade out, and it's gonna be a beat tape meets album. So kind of in between, some live musicians, mostly production.
Are you thinking about doing the whole live experience with that? Because there's definitely been of that kind of hang. And maybe this has always existed and I just haven't paid attention to it, but. And I'm totally spacing on the guy's name, but there's the kid out of Canada who's killing it right now. Anomaly, yeah. Anomaly's super killing. Shout out to Anomaly. He's going out there and playing shows. I've seen him do the band thing, but I've also seen him do basically just solo with tracks, and it's seems like it goes over really well. So it's an option now. Have you thought about doing the touring hang with that, or are you gonna kind of keep this as a more internal, this is what I've got. I'm a producer. Have you thought about the plan?
I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I'm going to put this record out, and I would like to do some of it live, but I think what I'd be more interested in is kind of almost leaving it separate. Sure. And, for example, what we did the other day in the living room.
Yeah.
Just continue to do that, because they're separate, but they're the same. To me, the beat tape thing, the composition of it, that's just the studio form of
Sure.
it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like I sometimes when I see those things live, when it's always the same, it's like the same production, the same arrangement, the same beat. It's like, yeah, you can get hype off the fact that you're there at the show listening to the song.
Sure.
Come out of the speakers kind of the way you've heard it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think might be cooler is for people to take their themes, whatever it is, if it's a rhythmic theme, if it's a melody, or if it's just a chord progression, is to take that out and tour with it, but let it be its own thing. And I know that for some people that's maybe not as possible.
Yeah.
You know, especially if they're mostly used to just being in the studio environment and not improvising.
Yeah. I mean, I know you and I have definitely both worked with people who it's like their product is amazing. They have this whole thing where it's super produced and super done, and then you try and do it live, and it's like, what the hell's missing? Like, and it's
where's spacebar?
it's like you know, like the plugins aren't there. Like where do I go now? And so it's definitely an interesting music world now because I don't know, the people that I see smashing the hardest, like and this is a couple years old now, so it's not new news, but I remember seeing like a Bruno Mars live show. Ooh. And it's like Bruno Mars, you know, I'm a fan of his music anyway, and his band is super smashing. But like seeing them live, it was like they flipped every tune. And the live version is not a new thing. But I feel like that, to me, deserves extra merit now because playing with tracks is so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been 3 or 4 LA gigs I've turned down now that are like, they're like, okay, play on the record, but playing on the record is literally just me hitting samples all in a row. It's like, I didn't train for that. You know, like I ain't doing anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say whose name it is, but a very prominent young beastie musician that I just talked to turned down a huge 3-month tour with like 3-year tour with one of the biggest pop stars that there is. And it's like this person, you know, just was like, I can't, I can't do that. I mean, man, Corey used to talk about that all the time, where he was, and his was, I think, before the track thing, but you know, he really wanted to have some say as a musician as to like, what am I doing on stage? How am I really coming with my own emotion, or am I trying to do somebody else's product? And like,
right.
I'm biased because I think my wallet is also happy for this, but I'm definitely happy that he didn't take that route because he has so much to say. You know, that like it's just a whole, it's very easy now to just go out, produce something, play it over the loudspeakers, and then just be a visual representation of that.
Right. And I think that like what we're trying to do actually lies in between.
I'd like to think.
You know, I mean, because we love the sound of what's being done on even the stuff you were playing earlier, like, like I want to approach this as a keyboard player.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. But I think a lot of people, and especially artists now, especially like singers and people who are like not used to that vibe, they're not ready to take that risk to have it be creative. They want to hear what they've been working on. They have demo-itis in a sense, but for the record.
Yeah.
You know, and I think for people like us, it's like I've gotten calls for auditions, calls to come in and do gig, you know, like, hey, do you want to go on tour for 6 months with this famous artist? And it's like, you know what, I can't because
I'll go nuts.
You'll go fucking nuts. I'll enjoy learning the record. I'll enjoy actually let me program the sound so I learn what this other producer has gotten into, because there's the whole thing there. As we know as sound designers, it's like, how do they create that? But then if it's kind of going to be that every night and it's going to be, let's play with the space bar.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
it's tricky, man. I mean, I will say this too, you know, and it goes back to what Lenny was saying earlier. I think it really just depends on what you want out of this. You know, I mean, and I'm going to say this is my okay to the youngins out there, that like either path is great. You know, I know plenty of people who go out and they do the pop thing and they're like, man, this is, you know, life to me is not just music, or even if it is, it's like there's a career element to it.
Right.
And I just want to make all the money I can. And so, you know, in that boat, it's like, damn, go out, do the pop things. Like if that's what you want.
They enjoy just the situation.
Yeah, you're touring. You're going out and literally doing, like, you're doing a job and you're enjoying the stuff that comes with the job. Yeah. Whereas I on my end, it's something that's more. I don't know. I end up on stage, and that's like where I think I feel meaning a little bit, because those experiences, like, and I've talked about this before, but like, and we won't dive super hard into this because it's probably another hour chat at this point, but I've always thought of like God as an experience. It's like whatever God is to me is like this feeling of like, oh shit. That's it. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what this is. Like, but something right there. That's God. And that thing I've only felt on stage. Like, I can think of 3 or 4 distinct, like, maybe a Corey show or 2, maybe a lesson moment or 2. I remember playing with this band called It's True back in Omaha. Shout out to my dude Adam Hawkins, who only did like 2 records, but it was such a like emotional, like, holy shit, everyone here is on the same thing. And I have to do that. I can't not do it. So, but either one is like, I don't want to put either one of them down because they're different aims and they both accomplish different things. Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap this up. We're approaching time. So, man, thank you guys both for doing this. We hit like an hour and 20 or some kind of craziness.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, bro.
So everyone, check out. What are you on? You're on Lenny the Ox on Instagram?
No, the Oxgram.
The Oxgram on Instagram. And you are?
I am J3P0.
I am J3P0. Mm-hmm. Check out both these cats. Pick up Julian's new single called The Crab out on Spotify and all the joints. And yeah, dudes.
And stay tuned on the Lesson GK page.
Yes.
We're about to release a lot of...
At the Lesson GK.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, we're gonna release a lot of content.
Oh, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Hold me then.
Yeah. All right. Have a good day.
Hold me closely.